It is 6:14 a.m. on November 28, 2025. The sky over the Caribbean is calm and bright when two fast dots appear low on the horizon, racing straight toward the US aircraft carrier Gerald R. Ford. The officers on the bridge look up as the sound grows louder, cutting through the morning air. In seconds, two Venezuelan Kate Watts jets burst out of the haze and slice across the Ford's bow at high speed. No call, no warning. Just a hard, close pass meant to shake everyone awake. Inside the combat center, the radar picture jumps. A controller leans in, eyes locked on the glowing screen. Something new is moving behind the first pair. A voice breaks the silence and says, "Combat, we have a second return. High speed, climbing, bearing 217. The room freezes for half a second. 4 jets now, not 2, and all heading straight for the carrier group. For the crew, it is that moment when adrenaline rises and training takes over. No one knows what the next minute will bring, but every person on board understands one thing: this situation can turn dangerous very fast. The reason this moment matters becomes clear when you look at where it is happening. The Ford is not cruising near a friendly coast or a quiet shipping lane. It is operating 140 miles off Venezuela, in a zone where every radar, every patrol jet, and every ship watches the sea non-stop. Out here, small decisions carry weight, and one wrong turn can change the entire day for both sides. For the sailors on deck, this morning does not feel routine. They have seen aggressive passes before, but the behavior today is different. The Kate Watts jets are flying lower, cutting angles tighter, and closing distance without a single radio call. This is not simple curiosity. It is a test, and tests in contested waters are dangerous. What makes it more tense is the lack of identification. 4 jets appear instead of 2. No IFF signal. No warning call. No attempt to explain their approach. In military aviation, silence is a message of its own. It tells you the other side wants to see how close they can get before someone reacts. And when the target is a nuclear carrier, every inch matters. The Ford stays on course because carriers do not change direction for pressure. They hold steady to show control. But that steady line comes with risk. If these jets push too far, the decision to respond will fall on a small group of people inside a dark room filled with screens and radio traffic. That is why everyone on board feels the tension rise. This is not just a flyby. It is a moment where both sides watch each other and wait for the next move. And the world will judge the meaning of that move the second the footage hits the news. If you were watching this standoff from inside the Ford, would you see it as a harmless test or a real threat? Press 1 if you think Venezuela pushed too far, or press 9 if you believe the Ford was right to hold steady. The first sign of trouble appears when 2 radar returns split into 4. No ID code, no radio reply, nothing explaining why these jets are moving this way. Inside the Ford's Combat Information Center, operators lean closer to their screens. The room stays quiet, but everyone feels the shift. In this part of the Caribbean, a calm picture can turn dangerous fast. The order comes quickly. Launch the Hornets. On the flight deck, crews move with fast, practiced motions. A Super Hornet rolls into place, engines shaking the deck. The shooter drops his arm, and the jet rockets forward. A second Hornet follows seconds later. In the cockpit, Viper 1 climbs and sees the full picture. 4 Kate Watts jets, flying tight and heading straight for the strike group. They carry no visible weapons, but their behavior is aggressive. They drift close together and still ignore every radio call. Control Viper 1, 4 contacts confirmed. No response. Copy Viper 1, defensive posture only. Below them, the Ford holds 20 knots. The destroyers, Mason and Thomas Hudner, tighten their screen and push data to the Hornets. The whole formation is locked into the same picture now. Then the first danger hits. A Venezuelan jet slices across Viper 1's nose at a distance no one considers safe. His helmet flashes a warning, but he holds steady. Another jet sweeps past Viper 2, shaking his aircraft as it crosses only a few hundred feet ahead. Ford control, unsafe pass. Range 200 meters. Viper 2 calls. Copy. Hold your line, the Ford replies. Inside the CIC, the SPY-3 radar shows the K-8Ws dropping lower and turning sharper. The operators know these moves. They are meant to push, not to shoot, but one wrong angle can turn a pass into a crisis. The Hornets shadow the jets without reacting. Discipline holds the line while the Venezuelan pilots twist again, almost like they want to see how far they can go before someone snaps. For a moment, the sky feels small, 4 jets pushing limits, 2 Hornets staying calm, 3 warships watching every angle. Everyone knows a single mistake could start something no one wants. If you were in the Hornet watching these moves up close, how would you react? Press 1 to stay steady, like Viper 1. Or press 9 if you would act before it got worse. The situation escalates as the Venezuelan jets push even lower over the water. Their shadows skim the waves, and on the Ford's radar screen, the icons drift dangerously close to the 6-mile mark, the point where a carrier group shifts from routine watch to real concern. Inside the Combat Information Center, operators follow every turn, fully aware that flying this low and this fast can go wrong in an instant. The destroyer Mason moves forward to tighten the shield in front of the carrier. Her electronic sweep begins light jamming, just enough to make the approaching jet's sensors less reliable. To the east, the Thomas Hudner slides into a new angle to cover any opening. Even these small adjustments matter. In encounters like this, a few degrees or a few seconds can decide whether both sides stay calm or fall into a crisis. Above, the Hornets shadow the K-8Ws without provoking them. They keep a steady line to show control, but the Venezuelan pilots continue to push. They bank deeper, turn sharper, and drift closer with each pass, almost like they are trying to see if the Americans will blink first. Then the lead Kate Watts rolls inverted and dives straight toward the Mason. The destroyer's deck crew hears the roar before the jet flashes over the bow at extreme low altitude. On the Ford, the Phalanx CIWS locks on and turns with a sharp mechanical whine. It does not fire, but that movement tells every sailor how close they are to crossing a line no one wants to cross. Seconds later, another Kate Watts slices between Viper 1 and Viper 2. The shockwave shakes both Hornets, but the pilots hold steady, keeping their formation tight. Their calm voices over the radio show how much discipline these moments demand. Inside the CIC, the radar picture grows more chaotic. 4 jets diving and twisting, 2 Hornets trying to shadow without reacting, and 3 warships shifting positions to keep the formation safe. One wrong angle or one misread altitude could trigger a chain of events that no one can stop. The Venezuelan jets climb again but stay too close, circling back as if looking for one last moment to test the Americans. The Ford's captain watches quietly. The carrier must hold its course, but everyone knows steady posture does not erase the danger pressing in on them. For a moment, the ocean feels silent even with engines roaring. It is the kind of pause that makes every person waiting for the next move hold their breath. If you were watching these low dives and sharp passes, how would you read them? Press 1 if you think Venezuela was pushing on purpose, or press 9 if you think they expected the Ford to turn away. Just when it seems like the Venezuelan jets are finally heading home, one of them breaks the pattern. 3 K-8Ws turn south, but a single jet stays behind at 9,000 feet. It begins circling the strike group in a slow, steady loop. It keeps the same altitude, refuses to answer radio calls, and holds a path that looks far too controlled to be random. It is not leaving. It is observing. Inside the Ford's Combat Information Center, operators track the lone jet closely. Its flight path stands out immediately. The other jets follow a straight line for home, but this pilot drifts to the edge of the group's airspace, pulls back, then circles again. The pattern repeats, making it clear the pilot is trying to get one last look at the formation or gather one final piece of information. In Viper 1's cockpit, a sharp spike appears on his radar screen. It lasts only a moment, but it is unmistakable. The lone Kate Watts has hit the strike group with a brief targeting radar pulse. It is too short to trigger defensive systems, but long enough to show intent. Every pilot knows a targeting pulse at this range is never an accident. "Forward, be advised," Viper 1 reports. "We were painted by the contact." The Ford responds with steady control. "Copy. Log the pulse. Maintain your shadow." Even without raised voices, everyone understands the meaning. This was not just noisy flying or reckless passes. Someone wanted to see how far the Ford would allow them to push. The pulse changes the nature of the encounter from harassment to measurement. The jet circles once more, slower this time, almost as if waiting for a reaction that never comes. Then, it finally turns south to rejoin the others. The sky becomes quiet again, but the effect of that 1-second pulse will follow the strike group long after the jet disappears. If that pulse showed up on your radar, how would you read it? Press 1 if you see it as a threat, or press 9 if you think it was only a test. The climax hits the moment the lone Venezuelan jet finally turns south, because the rest of the formation is still close enough to cause real trouble. Even though the sky looks calmer, the Ford's radar picture shows 4 K-8Ws stretched across the southern edge of the strike group, climbing and dropping like they are still deciding if the encounter is over. No one in the Combat Information Center relaxes. Everyone knows a calm picture can flip in seconds. Above the carrier, Viper 1 and Viper 2 keep a tight watch. They match the K-8W's altitude shifts and stay ready for anything. The early sunlight flashes across their canopies as they shadow the formation. For the pilots, these minutes feel heavy. Every small turn and every bit of engine noise matters when the situation is this close to turning dangerous. Down below, the Ford's bridge stays locked in. The destroyers Mason and Thomas Hudner hold their protective positions without drifting. Sailors feel the tension in the steady vibration of the deck and the constant radio updates rolling through their headsets. Everyone is waiting for the next move. Then, one Venezuelan jet suddenly dives again. It swings wide, drops lower, and cuts back toward the strike group in a sharp angle. It is not as dramatic as the earlier passes, but it is close enough to force both Hornet pilots to tighten up and prepare for any sudden change. In the CIC, a radar operator calls out new distance numbers as the jet approaches faster than expected. The Ford's phalanx CIWS rotates toward the movement with a clear mechanical whine. It does not fire, but the way the turret turns is a warning by itself. One wrong angle or a late pull-up could change this into something far worse than a flyby. At the last moment, the Venezuelan pilot pulls up, climbs back to 9,000 feet, and finally turns south. The other jets fall in behind him in a loose trail. Slowly, the sky begins to clear. For a few seconds, the Ford falls completely silent. Then comes the call. Contacts retreating. No further aggression. The tension drops, but nobody forgets how close the morning came to becoming an international crisis. If you watch that final dive, would you call it a warning or the start of something bigger? Press 1 for warning, or press 9 if you think this is only the beginning. When the last Venezuelan jet disappears, the Ford stays on its exact course, not turning a single degree. On the outside, the ship looks calm, but inside, the crew knows the incident is not finished. They save radar logs, radio calls, flight tracks, and every second of video for the official review. The destroyers Mason and Thomas Hudner return to normal spacing, but the tension across the deck remains. Sailors understand how close the strike group came to a real crisis. One late pull-up or one wrong angle could have triggered a defensive system. Ending the encounter without a shot fired feels like a quiet success, but also a warning. Word spreads quickly through the fleet. Pilots hear the same key points: aggressive low passes, sharp dives, and a brief radar pulse that changes the meaning of the entire encounter. The Ford sends a full report to Washington before the day ends. By midday, Venezuelan state media claims their jets forced the carrier to change direction, but the Ford's navigation data proves it never moved off its planned line. Analysts in Washington replay the targeting pulse again and again, because that single moment shows this was not random flying, it was a probe. Strategically, the lesson is clear. Low-cost aircraft can push a major US carrier group into high alert, and gray zone tactics like this testing without firing are becoming more common. raising the risk that the next encounter may not end as safely. So what do you think this morning really was? Press 1 if it was a warning, or press 9 if something bigger is coming.